There seems to be one word that paralyzes the minds of humanity. The reason why, because they are programmed by several spiritual forces as well as natural forces. I'm Tyrone Bowman. This is Tyrone Bowman Tonight. On this evening, I'm going to begin an inspirational, motivational teaching entitled Breaking the Cycle of Fear. This is going to be a 3-part teaching series. And the purpose of this inspirational, motivational teaching is to teach you and show you how, once and for all, to break the cycle of fear within your mind that paralyzes you from achieving the success that you were predestinated to have even before you came to this world. Ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake about it. Before we were born and came through the canal of life known as the womb, we pre-existed in the heart and mind of the divine creator, of Almighty God himself. And he did not allow us to be born into this world to be a failure. Society has divided individuals into classified and different directions, pitting race against race, the rich against the poor, the learned against the unlearned. Perpetually, this seems to be the norm. If you are going to continually allow the propagandist through the news cycles to determine your self-worth in this life, you are never going to amount to anything. It is time to break the shackles of fear off your mind and start achieving, being, doing, and having. You do not see the billionaires, the trillionaires, the zillionaires of this life complaining about anything. They are enjoying life on their terms. Why? Because they have security in their wealth. They have security in their riches. Many of them lack morals. Many of them lack intestinal fortitude. Many of them lack spiritual principles. Many of them don't have any ethics whatsoever. They will say or do anything by hook or crook to make $1. And you and I are the methods by which they have grown rich. While you are playing checkers, they are playing chess. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Life is a game. And you better start learning and understanding the rules of engagement if you are going to succeed. As previously stated, this is going to be a 3-part teaching series. Tonight is the introduction. And I'm going to define what cycle means, and I will also define what fear means. And I'm going to give you definitive definitions concerning each word. In part 2 of breaking the cycle of fear, I will define first in spiritual terms what an antidote is biblically, and then in natural terms, I will define what antidote means. Thirdly, and lastly, in part 3, I will give you what I call a mind antidote through biblical scriptures regarding fear and how you are not supposed to be paralyzed by fear. The world, especially politically, they will say or do any and everything to gain power. Stop believing this nonsense that the Democratic Party or the Republican Party are interested in us. They don't give a damn about any of us. All these monadic creatures think about is obtaining and keeping power. That is the bottom line. And if they think that racism, bigotry is the way to maintain power, if they think dividing the classes of people one against the other continuously is the way to maintain power, if they think perpetually spreading doom and gloom and pessimistic methods to the propagandists of the news cycle is the way to maintain power, then they're going to do it. Let me deviate and say this for a second. There's an upcoming midterm election in November. You and I have the power to throw all the trash and all the garbage out of Congress and out of the Senate. If you do not get your behind out there and vote, you have no reason to complain about anything. Myself, I am a registered independent voter. I vote my conscience. I've been a Republican and I've been a Democrat. I will never belong to either one of these parties ever again. Consciously, I have awakened to reality of what mind power is. So I vote my conscience, not parties. Now let's get down to the introduction of this lesson. Let's define the word cycle. Now let me tell you something. For too many individuals all your life, you've allowed fear to dominate you. How did most people become fearful? When you were born, you weren't born fearful. You were born courageous. Yes, you were. You and I were born courageous. We were born without fear. We were taught how to fear. How? Through movies, through so-called tales about the boogeyman and all that other trash that we've heard, the lies that we've been taught through Hollywood. Hollywood is excellent at perpetuating fear through movies. There's something wrong with you if you continuously spend your money to go see horror movies to inject fear into your mind to the point where you can't even go home and sleep at night without not having all the lights on in your house. You paid for Hollywood to inject fear into your mind, thus paralyzing you. And then you think you see things in the night and in the dark. And really, it is your mind bringing back to remembrance the stuff that you saw on the movie screen. Learn how to break the cycle of fear. We have been taught fear. We have been instructed how to fear. We have been fed fear. Sauteed, diced, sliced, baked, fried, warmed over, perpetually and continuously. And when you get down to the real nitty-gritty, fear is nothing more than faith perverted. And there is a spiritual connotation as well that is behind fear. The invisible world is more real than the visible world. And if you think that's not true, you are fooling yourself. Stop playing with things that you know nothing about. Stop engaging in satanic rituals and things of that nature, thinking that it's only a game. It is more than just a game. It is a spiritual reality. Angels are real, but you don't hear people teaching about angels a lot, about the divine messengers sent by Almighty God to planet Earth to aid humankind in their affairs. Touched by an Angel was an excellent TV series that was on for a decade. Highway to Heaven, Touched by an Angel, starred Della Reese. Highway to Heaven starred Michael Landon. These are great TV series that they don't even show anymore, unless you go to Retro TV or Me TV or some of the other things. But all the things that teach fear and dominate your mind with fear, that's being shown continuously. What does the word cycle mean? Let's define it. Cycle is defined as a series of events that are regularly repeated in the same order. Cycle is defined as round, rotation, revolution, circle, pattern, rhythm. A lot of individuals are going through life rotating from one generation to another and telling and teaching the same stuff that caused them to be perpetuated with fear. Now you're teaching yourself that, and you're teaching your children that. Everything that most people consider to be a failure in life is a result of fear that they allowed to perpetuate and grow within their mind. Then it became a living reality. Instead of stomping it out, they fed it. They gave into it. How? Through pessimistic people, through negative thinking, acting, speaking, and doing individuals. Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody, everything that they say out of their mouth is sauteed with bitterness, hate, venom, verbiage of negativism continuously? All the time, that's all that comes out of their mouth. And when you associate with this kind of person or persons, you will become like them after a while. When something is broken, it's shattered forever, breaking the cycle of fear. What is fear? Well, let's define the word fear. This is what fear is: an unpleasant emotion. Yes, fear can be felt. First, it's conceived in the thought process of the mind. Then it begins to take on a life of its own because the spiritual forces of darkness begin to allow that uncomfortable feeling of fear to start take hold of your mind. An unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. Fear is also defined as, listen to these words: terror, fright, fearfulness, horror, alarm, panic, agitation, trepidation, dread, consternation, dismay, distress, anxiety, worry, unease, uneasiness, apprehension, apprehensiveness, nervousness, nerves, timidity, disquietude, discomposure, unrest, perturbation, foreboding, misgiving, doubt, suspicion, the creeps, the willies, the heebie-jeebies. I used to say that a lot growing up. You give me the heebie-jeebies, meaning stuff is crawling all over me. So they start scratching and itching. In reality, there's nothing there. It's psychosomatic. Psychosomatic is defined as you believe something is happening, and to you it is real. In the actuality, nothing is happening. It's made up in your mind. Breaking the cycle of fear. The shakes, jitteriness, twitches, butterflies in the stomach. There's good fear and there's bad fear. I'm dealing with bad fear tonight, because good fear comes as a warning to let you know, don't go here, don't go there, don't touch that, don't do this, don't get involved with that person. That is the way God is talking to a lot of people, but they're ignoring it. Fear is defined as blue funk, worriment, inquietude, phobia, aversion, antipathy, nightmare, boogie, complex, mania, abnormal fear, irrational fear, obsessive fear. This is what fear is. And society will tell you, if you have all these abiding characteristics in terms of these words in your life, then you need a more powerful medication. They will keep you doped up medically and then call you a junkie. Then say that you can't live without all this medication. Some people are taking as much as 20 different medications a day, destroying vital organs in their bodies. Why do you think they introduced Ritalin in black schools in the hood? It's called mind control, because they couldn't find any other way to deal with an overactive child, an overactive mind. So they introduced what they call Ritalin. And then the child would be forced to take that mess against their will. And then they're sitting up in school all day long in a zombie-like state, doped up. And you wonder why they became a drug addict in real life. Because you, through the school system, educationally introduced them to fear and to drugs. Breaking the cycle of fear. Stop telling yourself, yes, I'm talking to you. Stop telling yourself that you can't break the cycle of fear. Stop telling yourself that it's hereditary, it's a lie, it's demonic. Stop telling yourself that you can't overcome. Yes, you can. Stop telling yourself that this cycle, this perpetuation that has destroyed every good and wonderful thing in your life. Every time you tried to go out and do something good, you became paralyzed by fear. And some people say, well, I have a fear of this, I have a fear of that, I have a phobia. A phobia is nothing more than fear. To be continued. Breaking the cycle of fear. I'm Tyrone Bowman. Never surrender, never quit.